What's up, squad? It's your squid. Thanks for coming back for another video. This one's going to be a little bit less formal or a little bit more disjointed than normal because I'm doing a video on Senator Payman, and I think she's being screwed over. I think she's being run over the hot coals for doing what a politician should, and I don't like that. So I'd like to discuss it with you, but I haven't written a detailed script that I'm just going to read to you, and I don't know enough to just talk to you throwing off the cuff. So I've written myself some extensive notes, and I am going to do a bit of a with you, but I wanted to cover the bases of the conversation because she's been kicked from the Labor Party, or she quit the Labor Party, but she's been kicked from the Labor Party, and she's probably going to get kicked from Parliament as a result as well, which is just because of the constitutional crisis of dual citizenship, which you might remember from 2017, where you can't hold dual citizenship and be in Parliament. You can only be an Australian citizen, and she's a dual citizen, but I'll get to that, all right? So it's crazy. I've got some timeline here. She was elected as a WA Senator for Labor in 2022. Section 44 of the Constitution, as we know, or should know if we were around in 2017, but I'll give a recap of just in case you don't. Section 44 of the Constitution says that citizens of a foreign power are unable to be elected. And Senator Payman is a citizen of a foreign power. She's a dual citizen between Australia and Afghanistan. So ostensibly, on face value, she's not eligible to be a senator in the Australian Federal Parliament. However, and this however is documented, we have proof for it, she's not lying, she's not fibbing, she's not doing what Malcolm Roberts did in 2017. Malcolm Roberts sent an email to a defunct email address that he would have got a bounce back straight away from, basically being Michael Scott from The Office, being I declare bankruptcy, when that's not how it works. He sent an email in his mind to India, or whoever it was. I'm pretty sure it was India, basically being I denounce my citizenship, and he thought that was it, and it's not. You need to be recognized, you need to go through the proper channels to properly denounce your citizenship, and he hadn't done that. And so there's talk that potentially Senator Payman has done a bit of a Malcolm Roberts, but she hasn't, right? So she's a dual citizen with Afghanistan and Australia. Before her election in 2022, so in November of 2021, and again, documented, we have proof for it, she's not just saying so, this is a fact that this is what she did. Whether it makes any difference or not is up to the High Court, and is a matter of interpretation, and a matter of, interpreting the Constitution, and in my opinion, she should be fine. I am not a member of the High Court, though, so we'll see, right? Anyway, in November of 2021, she contacted the Australian Embassy, or the Afghanistan Embassy in Australia, the Embassy for Afghanistan in Australia. She contacted them and tried to denounce their citizenship. She did everything she was supposed to do from a legal perspective. She followed the steps laid out by Afghanistan's government in order to renounce your citizenship. However, that government no longer exists anymore. The Taliban took over in Afghanistan, and the embassy actually has no communication with them anymore, and that is documented as well. She attempted to communicate, she communicated with the embassy in Afghanistan. They said, cool, you've done everything you should be doing legally, but we can't help you because we don't talk with the Taliban and they're the government officially now. Some embassy, right? That's not what an embassy is for or does. Who are these people? Are they on an Australian payroll? What's going on? Are they hoping nobody asks questions? How do we have an embassy for a country that doesn't have any emissaries in that embassy? What are they doing in the Afghanistan embassy? What's the point of it if they have no communication with the government of Afghanistan? But that's a completely different question. That's a completely different discussion. At this point, she's still a dual citizen because the Taliban won't remove her, but she's done everything she can to ensure that she is not a dual citizen, even though she is. So it's there is constitutional wiggle room. There was a constitutional lawyer that she sought legal advice from in November of 2021, who said, in a nutshell, because it can't be finalised, and because there are steps in the process that are out of her control and not in her hands, there are all sorts of clauses in that part of the Constitution for if, you have to do military service to denounce your citizenship. That doesn't count. We're not going to make you go and be in the military of a foreign country if you don't want to be their citizen. And, there are reasons why being unable to denounce your citizenship, there's avenues for her to follow in that regard. But she hadn't followed them She just assumed shit would be okay based on the advice she's got. And importantly, at this point, I want to mention the Labor Party also did. She was a Labor senator, and the Labor Party were okay with, like, knew all of the things she's saying, and were okay with all of the things, and thought, yeah, she'll be right as well. However, and this is the significant however, because she's pissed some people in the Labor Party off. She's no longer a Labor Party member, and so now the Labor Party are going, oh, well, that constitutional thing that we were okay with, we're not okay with anymore because you're not a Labor senator, and she might get kicked out of Parliament completely. So, the reason for that is on the 15th of June, 2024, in a significant move, she crossed the floor. She became the first Labor politician in, I think, about 40 years, since the 1980s, to cross the floor. And I should explain that as well, because every other political party in Australia, you get a conscious vote. If they're a conscience vote, not a conscious, you'd hope they're all conscious as well, but you get to use your conscience. If you're from the Liberal Party, you vote according to how you feel. If you're in the National Party, same deal. If you're in the Greens, same deal. But if you're in the Labor Party, you vote how the Labor Party determines you vote. You vote how the caucus agrees, and you're a voting bloc, and there's never any fucking wiggle room. You just do what you're told, and if you disagree, you can bring it up in the caucus meetings, or you can talk about it with your other MPs and try and sway the official position of the party, but you have to not rock the boat. A huge example of that, the main one I can think of is Penny Wong during the gay marriage debate. The Labor Party were a solid no until it became politically expedient, and she's a lesbian, and she was voting against same-sex marriage, against her own interests, despite the fact that her conscience vote would have had her voting yes. Bear with me, my kid's crying. I'm back. So where was I? Penny Wong. Yeah, that's right. So Penny Wong, despite being probably the most well-known lesbian or gay politician in Australia, like, in the history, I can't think of another one. I'm sure there were more. I'm sure there were others, you know. I'm sure she wasn't the first. I don't actually know. I can't, like, I'm sure I do know, but I just can't remember at the minute. But anyway, she's a very prominent lesbian, and she was the leader of the Labor Party in the Senate at the time, I'm fairly certain. And she kept voting no, and then publicly saying, look, I uphold the party's position and blah, blah, blah. So, say what you want about the Labor Party. I think the fact that they don't have a conscience vote is stupid. I think it's bad. I think it's bad policy, and you can explain it away with, oh, well, the voters know what they're getting. Like, they don't have to discern as much between candidates because they know that the Labor Party is going to vote a certain way. But it's like, that's not democracy. That's not how that works, you know? Like, it's frustrating. But she joined the Labor Party knowing that. She was a part of the Labor Party knowing that she would have to vote, like, against her conscience sometimes. That's kind of the defining feature of the Labor Party, is that they're union-based and, you know, very, very brand-focused, you know? Like, if you're an American watching this and you've been confused for 9 minutes, but you still enjoy watching me rant, so you're here and haven't, you know, you've been paying attention, but you're not 100% on it. It's like, it's an easy thing to say, the Labor Party are like the Democrats and the Liberal Party are like the Republicans. But that's not true. The Labor Party are like way further left-wing than the Democrats, and the Australian Liberal Party, capital L, they're not liberal, they're conservative, but they're called the Liberal Party. They switched around the same time you guys did. Anyway, point being, the uppercase L Liberals and the Labor Party are both left of centre. The Liberal Party in Australia are probably more closer aligned with the Democrats in America, and we don't have a party in Australia like the Republican Party in America. However, we do have a Greens Party, and they're whack job lefties. What you think is whack job lefty is normal centre left, if you're an American, right? But our lefties, you would think they're full-blown pinko communists, right? Anyway, not the point. The Greens put in a motion to recognise Palestine as an official country. The Greens put it in, and Senator Payman thinks that's a good idea. And it is a good idea, based on Labor policy. You know, if you're following Labor policy, Labor's policy is that they believe in a two-state solution. I just want to say here right now, I am not offering an opinion either way. I am not giving you my perspective. I'm telling you Labor's perspective, and that is a two-state solution. But they don't recognise Palestine as a free state. That makes no sense. You can't have a policy of a two-state solution unless you recognise there are two states. That is basic logic. And so that was Senator Payman's logic as well, of, well, the Labor Party believe in a two-state solution, so I am going to vote to recognise Palestine. The Labor Party didn't, the caucus didn't, and they spent 2 or 3 days with her in the media saying, well, I think I'm upholding Labor's values, and everyone in power in the Labor Party going, oh, I expect she'll resign soon. I expect she'll resign soon. And, you know, people talk about Albo didn't make her resign, that Albo didn't make her resign. But Albo said twice, 2 different conversations, I'm expecting a phone call from Senator Payman soon. That means I expect her to quit. That's what that's what it means. Great, they're cutting metal over there. Hopefully you can still hear me. It's fine, it's whatever, we'll keep doing this. But that's what that means. You know, when the person in charge says, yeah, I expect they'll call me and resign, that's telling her to call him and resign. That's what that means. Like, we're at the big kids table, let's act like big kids, you know? Like, let's call a spade a spade. When the Prime Minister says, I expect she'll call me to quit, he's saying, I want her to call me to quit, and so that's what she did. However, and I know, like, I've as I said, I've been doing like this, like at the start, right? But it's worth pointing out that now that she's not a member of the Labor Party have changed their tune on her citizenship eligibility. And the reason for that, I will tell you after I fix my kid again. The reason that the Labor Party have changed their tune is because constitutionally, if she wasn't eligible to run in 2022 when she won on their ticket, if she was ineligible from the start, and if the High Court determines that she was ineligible from the start, they don't go to a by-election. They just give it to the person that came second, like the next slot in line, and that person is another Labor Party senator. So, if she's removed from Parliament completely, it goes to a by-election, and everyone votes again, right? Right now. But if it's determined that she never should have been there in the first place, which is realistically the only actual thing that can come about, right? Like, because you can't say fucking 2 years down the line that nothing was able to happen, but, you know, we're going to kick you out now because you haven't tried hard enough. Like, that's one argument they're making in the Australian, the newspaper, is that, like, has she tried again? And if not, then she's not trying hard enough and should be kicked out now, and there should be a by-election. And if that was the case, like, maybe. I don't know. I'm getting off track there. Basically, what the point of this video is, Labor are fucking her over, specifically so they can try and get their vote in the Senate back, that they lost when she quit the party instead of politics, right? Because if she'd quit politics altogether, when they said, hey, you're doing the wrong thing, you need to quit, like, completely leave the Senate, completely leave politics, again, they would be able to fill in the seat. They just get their vote back. But because she quit the party and went to be an independent, she still votes on all the legislation, and it's fucking unlikely that she'll vote for the party that just made her leave on principles, you know what I mean? And so, like, the Labor Party have lost a vote in the Senate, and the Senate's too close for that, for them to be okay with that. And that's what it comes down to, really, is her citizenship. Her citizenship was a non-factor to the Labor Party until she pissed them off, and now it's something they're trying to hoist her with, and so that they can get their vote back. And that's ridiculous. And I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. And even if only one other person, like, even if only one person watches this video and goes, holy shit, you're right, she's being fucked over, then it'll be worth making it, you know what I mean? Because it's like, say what you want about Palestine, say what you want about Israel, say what you want about the whole fucking situation. This is an Australian politician being screwed over by other Australians, like, for basically no, like, just out of spite, you know? Like, just out of spite. And I support her. I support Senator Payman. I think that it is a principled stance, and that politicians should be, like, Christ, man. Like, how often do you find a politician that's actually willing to stand on principle and not just do what they're told for their donors, you know what I mean? Like, this is a person who believes in what she's saying and believes that her actions can make a difference. And so I support her in that endeavour. I'm incredibly disappointed in the Labor Party, and especially in Anthony Albanese, who was supposed to be our great white buffalo. First Prime Minister that's ever lived on the dole. First Prime Minister that's come from a social services background, you know? Like, so many different things, so many different, like, hopes for this lefty Prime Minister, and he's just been one of the greatest disappointments in my lifetime, and it's sad. And his treatment of Senator Payman is just indicative of how he's acted since he got the Labor leadership. And yeah, it's disappointing. I don't like it. I don't like how the Labor Party are acting, and I do support Senator Payman. If she was to start her own political party and run some people here in Western Sydney, where there is a large Muslim population, I would vote for her party above Labor based on this principled issue of a two-state solution with only one state recognised. That makes no sense. That's dumb. You're being dumb unless you recognise the two states, or change your policy. At least say state outright, you know? But anyway, I'm going around in circles. It's been 17 minutes. I've said the same thing 8 times. If you're still here, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit copy link. Doesn't matter if you send it to anyone, as long as you hit the copy link button and the computer thinks you did, then it'll help me out algorithmically. These people give me money. I like money. Turning some of your money into mine on a monthly basis would be ideal. I like to spend money on stuff. Failing all of that, I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Tell me if you want any more of these political screeching videos as opposed to the history ones, because I like them both. I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching.